Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bonsai's Forever. My name is Jay. I'm glad that you're here with me today. Just want to say thank you to all the new subscribers and welcome to the channel. And yeah, I guess that's it. I thought that I would have a whole big spiel, but I don't. Anyway, I got this really cool tree right here that I'm going to work on. Let me change the camera angle really quick and I'll show it to you a little bit. Alright, so I got this tree right here. Got a ton of stuff in the greenhouse right now, so it's kind of hard to get a good view of the tree here. So this is a Sarissa. It's called a Sarissa japonica, or they also call it tree of 1,000 stars or a snow rose. There's two different varieties that I have. This one is the pink flower variety, and I have this one here. Grab it amongst everything. This one it's got white flowers, so you can, I don't know if you can really see, they've got a lot different leaves. This one's a lot more developed, so it's got a lot smaller leaves on it, and this one is kind of a newer cutting, so it's got larger leaves on it still, and lots of weeds and grass. Grass is really bad for your bonsai trees. Grass grows really long fibrous or hair-like roots, and it like completely takes over the pot. It's really bad for your tree. Anyway, so that's the two different varieties. These ones grow a smaller flower than these ones do. Also, I think I have one that has flowers. Let me show you a flower really quick. So this one is a lot smaller of a cutting, but it has a, oh, stop moving. It has a cute little flower on it, and right next to it here is a dead leaf. Never mind. I thought it was a bud for another flower. So these, the reason why they call them a tree of 1,000 stars is because they grow flowers all over the tree. It's really cool. This one is not doing so good right this minute. A couple of my previous videos, if you've watched, we had a really cold front come through, and the greenhouse got below 40 degrees, which I hate cold. 40 degrees is super cold for me. I don't like it, but I don't know. I'm just rambling. Most people say 40 degrees isn't really that cold and stop whining about it, but my trees don't like it either. So it kind of damaged some of my trees. So what I'm doing here is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna clean it up. And I did wire this not too long ago. I wired it out so that it would look more like a shrub for now. I might do some kind of a landscape with it, put it in with some of my other, or one of my other trees in like a landscape, and have this like a shrub, and then have a tree above it. Haven't decided yet. I think that would be really cool. Kind of just thought of that just now. One thing that these trees do is, this is another tree from this tree. It's they grow new out of their roots. So there's another one right here, this tiny little guy here, and there's a couple on this side also coming out of the roots. And you can kind of tell when you pull on it, it's really solid, and you pull on some weeds. I can grab this weed with my tweezers. You grab the weeds and they just come right out. So the weeds come just right out, and they're pretty stuck in there. I do want to save these because these trees are really cool, and I'd like to have a whole bunch of them. So I'm going to see if I can save these and see if I can get a little bit of the roots with it. So one thing I'm going to try on this larger piece is I'm going to take my root pruning scissors, because they're pretty jacked up already, and I'm going to go in, see if I can find the root. Actually, I might just dig it away a little bit, find the root, and then just cut it off by the root. The roots, they grow really long, and they're pretty solid roots. They're pretty firm. So it'll grow roots outwards, and then the roots will grow down, and like really fine roots will grow down. So right here, I found the root, and it's a substantial root for the size of this tree. I mean, it's not super thick. It's about as thick as the trunk of this one is, but substantial in the fact that it's a small tree. Alright, so this does have a couple of feeder roots coming off of it. So I'm going to go back on the root just a little bit, cut it off here. And I'm going to see about, I'm going to cut off the other side. Actually, you know what? I might just try and dig up the other side of the root because it might have more feeder roots on it. And then we can have a good amount of roots on this to start with and just plant it and watch it grow. I don't want to grab the tree part of this to pull on it. And I'm not worried too much about breaking roots off of this little tree, because these things root pretty easily as it is. But that turned out pretty well. That's quite a bit of roots for that tiny little guy. So this will go into a pot and grow very nicely. We'll just set it aside for now. See if I can do that with a couple more of these. I'm wondering if this is on the same root as the other one, and it's not. This one's on a much thicker root. I don't want to keep the suckers attached to the tree right now, because I want the tree to recover from the cold. So I want to take off as much extra nutrients going out of the tree as possible. Okay, so this one's got a pretty solid root here too. There we go. Yeah, that's break it. More roots. This one's coming out of a much larger piece of the root also. Like I said, I'm not too worried about damaging some of the roots on these. I mean, that's a lot of roots for that little tree right there. So that's going to grow really nicely. And I'm not worried about taking the roots off of this tree. This tree's got a ton of roots in the pot also. I mean, they're going clear to the edge of the pot already. And it's only been in this pot for a little while. Don't ask me how long, because I don't remember exactly. I always try to do that, tell people how long I've been doing stuff, because it is kind of relevant into understanding how long it takes. You know, if you're kind of new to it, you kind of want to know what you're getting into with how long things take. But anyway, so I'm going to cut off the dead ends of some of these branches. Got a couple of them that are a little bit larger of a chunk that died off. I'm going to take all that off. And these trees do backbud pretty well, pretty readily. So I'm not too worried about taking off these dead branches, because it will grow more branches. I just don't want to take off the live branches. So I want to be careful enough not to take other branches off, but I'm not worried about these branches dying back too much. And if you flick it, the dead leaves will come off. So that's what I was doing there. And then this has got a pretty substantial piece. This branch is actually being held down with some wire, so I'm not going to cut it back to where I would normally cut it back, because I don't want to take the whole end of this branch, because I want it to stay like that for now. But eventually I will cut it back to where it bifurcates, because there's three branches, one on this side, one in the middle, and one on this side. And where it goes from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, it basically goes, the branch, how do I explain this? So the branch grows kind of straight, and then there's a branch comes off one side and goes off the other side, and that one continues, and another one, and continues. So when you're bringing it back into a shape, the shape that you want, or bifurcating the branches, you cut it back to the where there's 3 branches. You can either cut the middle one out, or you can cut one off either side to make it 2 branches. I hope that made sense. If not, ask questions in the comments and I'll see if I can answer it a little bit better. I'm trying to see if I can see another spot where it's doing that so I could show you, but I've already pretty much taken everything off that I needed to. Because everything else is like just backbutting and everything here, so. Actually, I did take off that little branch. I didn't really want to take that one off, but that's okay. It works. And these don't seem to die back to the next node. When you cut a branch off, that's where it dies back to, is right where you cut it off. So you can cut it back to a branch, like right here. Obviously everything's tiny, so I'm gonna have to bring you in closer. Alright, so let's get in a little bit closer. Looking at tiny little trees from far away is a lot more difficult. Okay, there we go. So let's see if I can. Okay, right here. Grab my cute little pointer. So right here is where I cut it off. Right there's where I cut it off. And that's the branch. And I cut it off right at the branch. You can kind of see where I cut it right off at the branch. And that branch will survive just fine doing that. And this is where I was talking about. It goes the trunk, and then it grows a branch off of each side of it. So you go from 1 to 2. And there's actually 3 here right now. Because there's a branch on this side, and then this is a 3rd branch right here. And that's actually a kind of a 4th branch. But these 2 branches here are part of this branch. So I'm going to leave those 2 branches for now until later on when I trim it back again. And it goes laterally, and then it goes vertically. So this one is the vertical branches are going up and down branches instead of going across branches. Trying to get the dead leaves out of in between the branches here. That's what I was doing there. So anyway, so yeah, it goes laterally and then it goes vertically. So a lot of times you can use clip and grow with these to get them to grow in the direction that you want, because the branches do that. So if I want the tree to continue to go out, I'll leave this branch, and if I want it to start going up, I'll leave that branch, or cut one off for the other. But this is where it's wired to. I don't want to take that off because I want it to stay wired for now. It hasn't been wired for very long. But I let this tree go for quite a while without doing anything with it. And it took forever to grow leaves like this again. And they're super tiny, which is awesome. Because like you saw on this other one, like you saw on this one, the leaves are much bigger on this one and this one. So, I mean, it does look a lot better like this, I think, anyway. But it took a while because I let it grow unchecked for a while. And that causes it to get really long, leggy branches on it and like very little foliage on it. And the leaves were really big. So cutting it back like this was pretty awesome. Sometimes you just got to keep up on it though, because some of these trees, if you don't keep up on it, they just grow really long leggy branches, and it takes forever and ever and ever to get them to come back to some kind of order. And you have to trim them up a lot to get them to come back to order. So just taking the tips of the branches off, like this one doesn't need that. I cut the dead stuff off, but taking the tips of the branches off when they're freshly growing, when you're getting into the refinement stage of it. Like this tree is still in development, but actually here's a branch right here. This branch right here is the newer growing tip of this tree here. And you can kind of see how it's got a little bit more space and how these leaves are a little bit bigger. So if I leave that on there and let it grow for a while, it'll thicken this branch up. Right here, it'll thicken this branch up, which is good. And I kind of do want to do that. I want to let all the branches thicken up a little bit. So I'll probably let that grow for a while, and then I'll just cut the tip off of it, like this one too. It's kind of hard to see with everything behind it. So yeah, this one is a new freshly growing tip on this branch too, which is a good sign actually. You can see the ends of all the branches look like there's about to be a lot of new growth on this tree. So pretty excited about that also. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of go over this Sarissa a little bit with you. Show you a couple of things. I can't really repot it. Obviously it's not ready to be repotted. I think I've shown a couple of videos of repotting the other type of Sarissa. Once I get ready to put this into a bonsai pot, I'll definitely put that on film for y'all so you can see it. I'll explain how to repot it and how to take care of the roots, how to care for it afterwards and all that stuff. So yeah, just kind of a short video for y'all, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you like this tree. I really like this tree. It's been a long time in the works for this one. I've had it for quite a while. I think it's been probably close to 6 years I've been working on this tree, and it's finally starting to look like a tree. So these ones grow pretty rapidly, but slowly. It's kind of hard to explain. Like you saw the shoots that are coming off of it. I mean, you can see that's only a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two of growth, and then all of this really small growth. It's taken forever. So they grow really fast and then they slow way down. So if you have any ideas on how to keep it growing, relatively quickly, give me a shout out, but if not, we'll figure it out. So yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.